If I only had to hold 3 altcoins for the long term, this portfolio would be it. In this video, I'm going to break down the exact 3 coin portfolio that's outperformed 98% of traders so far this cycle and is likely to outperform over the coming months and years. A big mistake that investors in crypto make is they simply hold too many altcoins. They hold 20, 25, 30 altcoins, and it becomes extremely difficult to manage their portfolio. This cycle, I've condensed my core holdings down to 5 to 10 altcoins. So today is going to focus on 3 of the biggest positions within my core portfolio of 5 to 10 coins, as these are some of the higher conviction bets that I am making for the mid to long term. I think all of these altcoins on their own individual merit have staying power, not just for this cycle, but through to other crypto cycles. Now I'm going to start with an obvious one, but I couldn't have a 3 altcoin portfolio without this coin, and it's Solana. This is a coin that is pretty near and dear to my heart because it's been one of my best trades this cycle after scooping up Sol in the $10 to $15 range during the FTX bear market lows. I was very public about those buys, and since then I've been a massive Solana fan.
Solana for me represents a nice non-EVM bet to hedge against my Ethereum positions and Ethereum dominance.
However, I don't think the fun is over just yet for Solana, not only this cycle, but also longer term, due to the unique positioning it has in the layer 1 market. It's really established itself as the retail chain this cycle. If you talk to anyone new coming into crypto, a lot of them are onboarding via Solana, through Moonshot, through Phantom. The meme coin trading playground is occurring on Solana, and in terms of product market fit as a layer 1, Sol has really honed in on that niche outside of Ethereum, and in many ways it's actually gunning for Ethereum's place. Yes, Ethereum has the superior TVL and the superior wealth effect, but Solana isn't far behind, and it definitely is gaining pace faster. So I think it still has upside to potentially push into the $1,000 plus region over the long term, which makes it a strategic bet in my crypto portfolio, and in terms of weighting is probably my biggest holding after Bitcoin. And there are still some exciting upcoming catalysts for Solana in the near future. You have Fire Dancer, which is set to improve the network significantly. It's a major network upgrade. You have the new Saga 2 mobile phone coming. Obviously, they have a big focus on mobile, as they understand. Lots of the retail users are on mobile, and they can get some unique product differentiation by making their own hardware. And then you also have a potential Solana ETF as well, which is still progressing, and that would make it an investable asset on the stock market after obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum have already received their ETFs. So there still are catalysts in the future for Sol, on top of the traction that we've already seen it quickly gaining over the past couple of years. Now let's move on to the next 2 that comprise my ultimate 3 altcoin portfolio. If you do enjoy this type of content, by the way, make sure you click that subscribe button and hit that post notification bell so I can keep giving you alpha in the crypto market. Pick number 2 is a coin that has recently risen to prominence and is a great example of a product in crypto which has really achieved true product market fit. I can't say that many applications in the crypto space have actually found PMF, but this one definitely has. And that asset is Hyperliquid, which has been one of the most explosive coins this year, going from rank 40 all the way to the top 15, and it's actually knocking on the door of the top 10 at the moment in terms of market capitalization. It's still an 8x away from Solana in terms of market cap, but it is slightly closer in terms of FDV, roughly representing 40% of Solana's FDV. Now, I'm still bullish that Hyperliquid could still perform well over the mid to long term, despite already having performed quite well, due to the fact that their tokenomics are constructed in such a way that the more trading volume that happens, the more fees that are generated, the more hype is burnt through the Hyperliquid Assistance Fund, which directs 100% of the profits from the protocol back to the community. And this is a very good thing because it means the token price theoretically should scale over time, and the earnings of users on the platform that stake should scale over time based on the amount of market share it commands and the fees that it commands. And if you actually look at its market share versus some of the really big exchanges like Binance, recently there was actually a couple of days where it had 30% of the current open interest of a Binance, around the $10 billion mark, which is absolutely insane. If that isn't product market fit, I don't know what is. And there's still lots of stuff that needs to happen in the Hyperliquid ecosystem, which still make it relatively nascent. It's got Hyper EVM with a bunch more airdrops coming. There's going to be billions of dollars, which is still yet to be airdropped to the community. There's going to be more initiatives, obviously more network upgrades. Buying into Hyperliquid is kind of like buying into the L1 because that is the underlying infrastructure which is powering it. The DEX, so you're getting exposure to the fees, and also the revenue from the protocol, because obviously the Hype token, because of the buyback and burns, has a value accrual mechanism behind it. And actually, so far, the assistance fund has bought back around 23 million Hype tokens. That's pretty crazy. So my set and forget altcoin portfolio is Solana, obviously the biggest L1 outside of Ethereum, Hyperliquid, which is the biggest DEX and one of the products that's actually found true product market fit in crypto. But what's number 3? Well, number 3, I've chosen a token in one of the sectors in crypto, which I think is going to be one of the biggest growth sectors in the space. And it's a narrative which is also one of the biggest narratives in the entire world and continues to garner mainstream media attention, and that is AI. I think it's very clear right now that AI is a massive trend in the real world, but I also think the intersection of AI and crypto are opening up some very interesting possibilities, and I'm extremely interested in positioning in that intersection for longer term growth. And there are a few really obvious bets in the market right now, in my opinion, which give you exposure to this. Now, the one that I'm going to mention today in my 3-coin portfolio is the biggest, but actually is at a fairly reasonable valuation, in my opinion, compared to other altcoins, and that is Tau or BitTensor. Now, AI is obviously one of the biggest trends in the world, and BitTensor is the #1 AI token in crypto. So it becomes a liquid investable proxy and the leading investable proxy for AI in crypto. The easiest way that I can simplify Tau is that it's the Bitcoin of AI. It has very similar tokenomics with Tau mining and the rate of decay on Tau emissions. So just like you get rewarded for contributing to the Bitcoin network by providing hash power, you get rewarded in Tau for contributing to the network's AI models. So these are decentralized AI models, which I think are going to be very important in an AI world, which is relatively unfiltered. And obviously there's been lots of speculation as to some of the risks with AI, but I think doing it in a decentralized and permissionless way has a lot of benefits, not only from a security perspective, but also from a cost perspective, to get machine learning down in cost. And this is where Tau could potentially come in, not only as a crypto play, but transcending crypto and having real implications for the AI sector as a whole. But even if it doesn't do that, just the hype alone, as having the biggest community and being the leading proxy in AI, makes it a pretty obvious bet, in my opinion, when you're constructing a portfolio and wanting exposure to AI. And that's why Tau has now become one of the biggest holdings in my portfolio. I want to give you a little bit of alpha in today's video, and this applies for Hyperliquid, Tau, and Solana. What you can actually do is implement a barbell strategy if you want some more risk on exposure, higher beta exposure to the underlying ecosystems. For example, you could hold $8,000 in Tau, and then you could put $2,000, 20% into the ecosystem. If you wanted to be even more risk off, which I think makes a lot of sense because often the leaders just keep on leading and end up being potentially better than actually playing in the ecosystem, you could do 9,000 and 1,000, so 90-10. And obviously it depends how risk on you want to go. It enables you to get exposure to the ecosystem. So for me, I have 80% in Solana, but I have 20% in Radium, Jupiter, and these, ecosystem proxies. I have 90% in Hyperliquid, but I have 10% in the ecosystem, and I'm doing airdrop farming and that sort of stuff. And with the Tau ecosystem, I also have roughly 85 to 90% and 10 to 15% in the ecosystem. So you can see how you can create these barbells to get risk on exposure to the ecosystems whilst keeping your core positions intact. And then if some of your risk on betas perform really well, you can basically just take profits from those positions and put them back into the leaders. And that's where I see a lot of people screw up. They don't take profits on their riskier but more profitable at times ecosystem alts and put it back into the leader. So definitely make sure that you're using those profits to accumulate more of the base token, and ultimately you are using altcoins longer term as a proxy to build more Bitcoin or stack more Satoshis. However, I do think these altcoins, all 3 of them, have staying power longer term, because I think if you want to run through them all, 1, I don't think DeFi is going anywhere, and I don't think speculation or gambling is going anywhere. Solana is the proven chain for that. 2, I don't think DEX trading's going anywhere, and Hyperliquid has true product market fit, and that network effect is extremely powerful. Obviously, it comes with more risk than other protocols because of the way it's designed. However, if it pays off, this is potentially one of the biggest community payout events in history if you look at the amount that's actually going back to the community through fees. So I want to bet on that. And I think longer term, if you think crypto is going to be around, if you think people are going to be trading Bitcoin, if you think people are going to be trading on leverage, it's an obvious bet or a proxy for that. Tau is an obvious way to get exposure to AI. If you're bullish on AI, if you're bullish on AI and crypto, Tau becomes a play that's worth holding longer term as well. And obviously there's lots of incentive and ecosystem alignment and some interesting flywheels with the Tau token itself, which set it up for price appreciation if the network succeeds. Keep in mind, crypto is risky and altcoins obviously aren't as safe as Bitcoin, but these are probably the 3 I'd pick, gun to my head, if I had to pick a set and forget portfolio. But I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below, what is your ultimate 3 altcoin portfolio? Let's say if you had to hold for 2 to 3 years, what altcoins would you pick? Let me know in the comments below. I'd be very interested to see what you say, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.